West Indies 282, to which England replied with 376, and West Indies 33 for 2, trailing by 61 runs going into day 3. This story sounds somewhat familiar, Deighton Smith. Welcome again to Anything.
Thank you, Philip. It is very familiar. I had a difficult day, let me say that. But let me start with the positives, Philip. We have a very young team, and the best you can ask from a young team is that they learn on every occasion, every opportunity they have, they should be learning. And I've seen some positive signs in terms of some of them learning. Jaden Seals is bowling better and better each innings, and I really take my hat off to him, especially after he had a layoff for a while. He's really getting back to his best, and good to see. Shamar Joseph, even though I'm convinced he's not at his physical best yet, because he's still not bowling at the pace we know he's capable of, he is clearly improving. Today he bowled a beautiful cutter to dismiss a batter who was going great guns on 95, who was set, and completely confused him with a cutter. And I have to say that was wonderful. After that, well, we've had some instances of few batsmen showing good signs throughout this tour, but after that, I have to say, one of the areas that we really must put a lot of effort into really learning and improving is in our planning. I don't know how closely you followed the cricket this morning, Philip, but after 2 wickets fell, I think the entire Caribbean was very, very happy. I think everyone would have been celebrating and thrilled at what was going on. But after those 2 wickets fell, I really struggled to understand what was our plan. What were we trying to do? We had 2 early wickets, which means we had 5 down for 55. And we only had 2 slips in place. Not only that, you have 2 very experienced batsmen. And Joe Root showed his experience very well. We had a huge area cover where there was always a single begging to happen. And he just picked over 1s and 2s and 1s and 2s, and the score was going along merrily. And I could not understand why we would do that when you have 5 wickets down. Surely, am I wrong, Philip? We should be thinking, we've got 5. How do we get the other 5 as quickly as possible? Am I wrong in that, Philip?
Well, you're not wrong, but there are many people who would suggest to you that who would respond to you by simply saying that Brathwaite is a defensive-minded captain. Some people would say get rid of him. Well, I could probably share the view that he's a defensive-minded captain. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon to get rid of. Usually there are cases where you just need to get rid of something or someone.
Yeah.
But usually I use a different approach. I look for a better option. And I don't think that we're going to have a great chance of having a better option if we continue to do things the way we do them. We do not prepare young people for leadership. And
well, I agree with you 100%. I noticed I didn't suggest we get rid of him. What I said is we have to really learn about our planning. And this is the area.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying you suggested that. I'm just simply saying
right.
what you're saying makes sense. It was a defensive-minded captain. And, I think that's what we saw today.
Yeah. Because I was watching, and I'll tell you one of the things that occurred to me in a moment, but we had 2 fielders back on the boundary on the leg side, but we weren't going to the short ball plan. In fact, I have to say, Joseph and Seals bowled good lines and lengths, which should tell me that you should have your cover in to stop that single and look for that catch behind at some point. Now, in terms of the captaincy, there was something that bothers me about West Indies cricket for a long time, and I thought we were moving away from it. But today, I just got the feeling it was back, and I'll tell you what it is. We are always fearful about our batting. I think we worry about not having to chase down big totals. And so our whole mindset in the field is let's try to save runs. And if that's what your mindset is when you have 5 wickets down, that's a losing mindset. I thought that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to cover boundaries all around the pitch for some reason.
Unsuccessfully.
And of course, it's doomed to failure. That will never work. And in fact, I'll go through a few things that happened to show you why it made no sense. Just before lunch, we went to a short ball strategy. We put a field in place for that and we bowled for that. We came out after lunch and it worked. So if that's your plan, fine. If that's not your plan, then let's have a field that's set for a different plan. And I couldn't see what the other plan was. So we got a dangerous batsman with that short ball plan. Fine. Moti defeated England's best batter. So we've got their two most experienced batsmen after a long partnership. And what did we do after that? Again, just like the morning when we got those two, we weren't sure what was happening. Wokes came in, and Wokes is a good player, I agree, but he's a number 8. He's not a good number 5 or number 6. He's a number 8. So he came in. We know that he's a good driver of the ball. And we did not attack him with the short ball, even though we took Moti off. Now tell me, Philip, do you not trust Moti against Wokes? Moti's a very good bowler. He just got their best bowler, their best batsman out, and you take him off to bring on the Pacers. So I thought you're going to the short ball strategy, but we didn't. So
yeah,
understand.
I actually thought that I was actually going to ask you about Moti and if you think that he's being used effectively. So you kind of answered that before I asked, because I was even wondering if he should not have been brought in the attack earlier.
He should have been. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. And not only, you might wonder why with 4 fast bowlers, I'd be saying that, but you've got 4 bowlers off the long run, yes. But Alzari Joseph, who continues to, I guess, perplex some people, he ended with a 4-wicket haul. But more than probably any other bowler in the lineup today, if I had, it might seem harsh, but if I had to blame a bowler for the fact that West Indies has lost the grip on the game, there are other factors we know: the captaincy, the leadership, the decision making. But Azar Joseph, to my mind, is just gone from bad to worse. Yes, you end up with 4 wickets.
Let me tell you your thoughts about Joseph.
But
let me tell you your thoughts about Joseph together with the planning that I'm telling you about.
2
wickets fall in the morning. 2 bowlers are bowling good line of length. We have no good plan to put pressure on the batting. It was easy to keep scoring with 1s and 2s, no problem. Then we go to Alzari Joseph. As usual, he's all over the place. He started well. He actually had 2 decent overs at the beginning. But the truth is, for most of the day, and he ended up this way, going for over 6 runs and over. So where's the pressure? Now, again, to go back to the Moti situation, if you go to him and he's leaking runs all over the place. In the last test match, no, sorry, the first test match, Moti defeated their 2 most experienced players. And they're the 2 at the wicket now. Why do you not give him the ball in the middle of the morning? No, I understand that you want to get the most out of the newer ball, but by the time 30 overs are gone and you're not making any impression, why not give Moti the ball earlier? And just to show you how confused I was all day, after the damage had been done, after Wokes had put on a very big partnership, then we went back to the short ball plan with Wokes, and it worked. When we know that's the plan we should go to when he first comes to the wicket. And if you're not going to go to it, then surely you got to give Moti a chance at him. So the truth is, I think we got a lot to learn now with this team as to how do we go about turning the screws when we have a team under pressure. And today we released all of it. It was really not good.
And the sad thing about it is, I mean, it's clear that in terms of the batting, the inexperience is a challenge. And this is not to suggest that when we had more experienced players, we were batting that much better. But sadly, we continue to put players in situations where they have to learn on the job. It reminds me of a former, I think he was a police officer who was known for being a swimming instructor.
Yeah.
And the story, as the story goes, used to throw people in at the deep end.
Throw you off the pier and you go sink or swim.
And that's what we keep doing with our players. I mean, Louis, for example, 7 matches, 3 centuries, 2 of them, if I remember correctly, against 1 attack that was fairly limited. And this is not to take anything from the young man, it's just factual. Would not have had many opportunities to face even the region's top bowlers in a short career. And to my mind, should be on an 18 tour somewhere getting ready maybe for South Africa.
Yeah.
But you send him up to England, one of the most challenging tours. You play him ahead of Zach McCaskey, who has experience in English condition. And you wonder, well, why? And if he scores some runs in this innings tomorrow, then we'll feel it was justified. That's the sad thing about it.
Well,
But
let me tell you what I
preparation
think
phase.
about him.
But just let me finish the point I was
Mhm.
making. Because I was saying, yes, the batting is an experience. But the sad thing about the bowling is that the biggest culprit are the experienced ones. As our Joe,
Exactly. Yeah.
just hold the ball without any energy.
Today, I was
And
of the opinion that
none
something
of these,
was wrong with Jason Holder.
sorry?
Today I was of the view that something was wrong with him.
But I would think so because I mean, whenever I saw Jason Holder
He
bowl,
was not good today, and his greatest asset is his control of line and length. Today he
yes,
had none. So all the pressure went after we took off the two bowlers that we started with.
you're basically two bowlers short today.
Yeah.
And I think of young Justin Graves in Australia, bowling his heart out and just keeping things tight. Just
Mm.
keeping things tight. And then he did that long enough along with the other bowlers. And then there was Shamar Joseph to come and blast away the all season and win the game. But
Yeah.
people forget that while Shamar Joseph took the wickets and there's no let's say downplaying what he did, it was amazing. But without the disciplined work of the other bowlers, Australia would have won the game
I
easily.
agree with 100%. In fact, I have to tell you, that's probably the best time I've seen Azari Joseph bowl in his test career in terms of having better control than most other times I've seen him bowl. But going forward, Philip, I think, well, sorry, let me just comment first on your whole thought about how we treat our young players. I agree with you that we have to plan better how we're going to prepare them for test cricket. And having said that, I have to tell you, this young opening batsman that I'm looking at here, who has been thrown into some very, very deep water, I think he's a very good prospect for the future. He does something that most of our top order batters do not do. He gets his left foot forward to the ball. And a lot of times our top order batters get trapped on the crease or have our front foot stuck on the crease and our back reaching for the ball outside the off stump. I think it's a good thing that he gets forward to the ball, and defensively he's quite sound. I am not surprised that he's not gone on to make big scores, as you said, because he needs more preparation than he's gotten. But I'm seeing some really good signs. So I'm just trying to say there's a positive in all this. I think he's a very good one for the future. The question is, what do we do with him and all the others after this? In fact, what do we do with even McCaskey? As I said to you sometime privately, I think McCaskey is a very good prospect, but I've noticed he has a issue that he needs to sort out where his left foot comes very slightly forward on the leg stump when he's playing at the ball outside the off stump. And it needs to be sorted out. Otherwise, he will unfortunately get exposed at the higher level. When I think he's also a very good prospect. So I feel like I'm sorry if I'm boring you by repeating myself, but I know you bore other people by repeating the same thing. When are we going to get to the point where we have a
I get
program?
boring guys.
Yeah, where are we going to get to the point where we have a program that we bring these guys back home and we say, okay, here's what we work on in the nets. Then we say,
What are you talking
we
about a
go
hyper program by any chance?
absolutely what I'm talking about. If you're afraid to say, I'm not. And then having worked on those issues, then let's expose them again at every opportunity to A-team tours and whatever other chances we have for them to put them into practice. Because otherwise, we're wasting talent, Philip. We have the talent. I think these are two good young opening batting prospects for the future. And you have to bear in mind that Bradford is now over 30. So there has to be planning for the future. So if they are the ones that we are looking at for the future, is it not incumbent on us to really put some work into getting them ready for a good future, a successful future?
Well, I would think so, Dayton. I certainly can't fault you where that's concerned. But in terms of that front foot issue you mentioned with Michael Louis, if you were following on the opening day,
Mm.
the commentators they were looking at the fact that he doesn't have a back foot game, and
Yes,
they figured that restricted him quite a bit in terms of his scoring.
but it does. But when he's defending, and think about it, right? This is why. Think about it. He's played, this is his third test match. How many half-century partnerships has he already had? There was one in the first innings of this game. There was certainly one in the last game. I think he's had 3 already.
Mm.
And so by being solid in his defense, at least we are not in that situation where we keep finding ourselves 40 for 4 and 30 for 3. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
And I would be shocked if there was not an area of his game that needed to develop because he hasn't had the exposure. So if you identify that he can expand his game now, he doesn't have to go back on his back foot in the sense of going back on his stumps. He has to just transfer his weight backwards sometimes enough that he can attack the ball with the back foot. But going forward, he against the swinging ball, he actually is a little more sound than a lot of the guys that I've seen us put in our top 5 in the last 5 years.
What's he different from Chandler Paul?
The father or the son?
Somehow I knew you would ask that.
Because the father is a tremendous model for the others to follow. Forget the stance that looks strange. If these youngsters sit down and watch the older Chandler Paul in the act of playing a stroke or the act of defending when he actually meets the ball, he's in a beautiful position, even though he starts in what looks like an awkward position. Now, in terms of the younger Chandler Paul, I got the impression that he got himself a little confused for a while because he was ultra defensive and he was reasonably sound, but he was struggling to score, and it was a difficult thing having 2 batters who score 30 runs per 100 balls.
But you realize that Brackett has outscored Michael Louis in those parts?
Oh, yes. In fact, in his last 2 innings, when he's made more runs, he's actually being more positive, and that's a good thing. But what I'm saying about young Chandler Paul is that I got the impression the last few times I saw him, he was trying to attack more. And every now and then he was not making the best choices, which is not, again, surprising when you're trying to transition from one thing to another. But, Philip, I'm sorry to be boring again. My question out to you is, what are we doing with him? He has shown that he can make runs at the higher level he's done so early on in his career. What are we doing to get him back making runs again? Do we just discard him?
We're taking the advice of John Public.
I see.
John Public's response is drop him.
Right, but okay, even if you do that, Philip, what then? Do we just put him on the dump heap? And then when we say drop another player, we just go and take him off the dump heap again. That cannot be a good strategy.
But John Public does not demand anything more.
Yeah, but
I heard someone suggesting the other day that, and this may come as a surprise to you because I don't think you move in that circle. Probably good for you too, because then you won't be subjected to such nonsense. The Athenaeus should take over the captaincy from Brackett.
Philip, should we even discuss this?
I didn't ask you to discuss it. I was saying,
yeah,
let's put it this way. All I would say is insularity is alive and well in the Caribbean.
Yeah, exactly. To me, right, I don't think these people understand when they make these suggestions what they're doing to these young players, because that could be a hell of a burden on that young man. I hope they don't try and destroy his career by that. But anyway,
well,
look, John Public will have opinions and they're entitled to them. But John Public is not charged with the responsibility for taking West Indies cricket forward. My question to the people who are charged with that responsibility is, what are you going to do to get young men like young Chandler Paul ready for the future? And there are a few of them out there. There's not only Chandler Paul. I have to say it. In terms of Zachary McCaskey, they've done a good job of sending him out on your team tours and things like that. But is anybody looking at him now and saying there are a few things we need to tighten up before we get him into the international game, rather than get him there, get exposed, and then have to be discarded again like we keep doing with our young players? Like, for instance, I think there's a good player in Mackenzie. He's had a horrible season with the bat. I think there's a good player in there. My question is, what are we going to do to get him into a position where he's likely to score runs? Because
that's an easy one, though, Deighton. That's a very easy one. The first thing that needs to be done, and there may be 100 other things, but the first thing that needs to be done is to get him playing cricket. If you select a guy for Test cricket, and especially that number 3 position, then as a batsman, we're not talking about a bowler. You can take a chance with a bowler, in my estimation. But when you take a chance with a batsman who has had one score of note in a short career,
Yeah,
and that one score, if I remember correctly, would have been against against one opposition. Obviously, wasn't that in the best competition? They had weeks or something like that. But the
it
point is, he had
was.
one
Yes.
significant score, and out of that, you have asked this guy to carry the baton. Because I mean, come on, Dave, you're old school like I am. That
Number
number
three is a
is
crucial position.
a crucial position.
Yeah.
So that's easy. He needs to just go and learn to play some cricket. And
Mm.
then the maybe other things added to that. But right now, he has played so little cricket that I don't know anyone in the right mind could put him in that position. But Dayton,
Yeah. Yes.
tomorrow, what can both teams be?
Right. Well, I was going to get to that. Now, I think this is a phenomenal opportunity for two young men. Because I think too often we look at things as challenges and we look at the negative side. But here's a chance for two young men to come out tomorrow, put their heads down, understand that early in the morning there could be some movement, so you get your head down. In other words, you observe the basics of batting in Test cricket. You get your head down, you get to the line of the ball, you see what the wicket is doing, and you start to expand your game. And you set yourself not to survive 5 overs or 10, but you leave there saying, come back in here at lunchtime intact. I think all of our batters have to go through with this thought tomorrow. We have to bat a long time because we've struggled to bowl England out for less than 350. So our thoughts must be, never mind that 2 wickets are down. In the same way that England recovered from 55 for 5 and past 400, we have to say to ourselves, sorry? Sorry,
Past
past
300.
300, my apologies. We have to say to ourselves, we have to be looking to set a target of at least 350. So I know that someone's going to say, okay, are you mad? We've been not been batting well in 2 innings consecutively. But what you've done in the past isn't what you should look at. You should say, what do I need to do in the future? And I think this is a great opportunity for both of these young players to come out there tomorrow and really dig in and bat for long. That they have to. If they don't, we'll find ourselves struggling. We have 2 other good players coming after them, and basically all of them have to set themselves to say, we have to be batting at the close of play tomorrow. That has to be the mindset. And you have to go there and have plans of how am I going to achieve that? How do I counteract this bowler or that bowler or that bowler? And that's the only thing we can do if we want to stay in this game. If we get bowled out tomorrow, I can't see how we could win it.
In England should be looking to wrap things
Well,
up.
clearly, if I was England, I'd be looking to get 5 wickets in the morning session. Since this team has collapsed a few times already in the past, it is clear that they've been targeting a few of our players on that 4th and 5th stump, try and get them nicked off down the slips, and I'm sure they'll come back and do the same thing tomorrow. If any of them hang around for a bit, I think England are going to do what they've always done. They've gone back to the short ball plan, and they're going to bring Bashir into the game to see what he can do. If I were them, that's what I would do. As a West Indian fan, I would hope that we figure out how to counteract all of them.
Let's hope that tomorrow, this time, we can have a chat either on or off air. One
Yes.
of which we can be satisfied that
Yes.
much of what you have asked for will be accomplished.
I would love that.
Thanks again, David.
Hey, have a good one.